Well, okay, there's just one more very important message for you all before we leave tonight. And as you make your way home or up the wooden hill to Bedfordshire, just remember this. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. Make sure they know you're about. Talk very loud so they know there's a crowd, and that way they won't feel left out. It's only polite to signal good night with the ritual slam of car doors. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. Remember, these neighbours aren't yours. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. Remember, these neighbours aren't yours. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. They might well be tucked up in bed. It's not very sweet if you're sick in the street, so be sick on their driveways instead. Hang on to your beers, and call out to them cheers, and ask where can you get some chips. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. It will bring a wry smile to their lips. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. It will bring a wry smile to their lips. And when you leave here, please consider the neighbours. This is your chance to rehearse, and it is. Come on. Swing low, sweet chariot. Make sure you sing every verse. My Delilah, or hi-ho, silver lining. I'm sure they'd like that very much. Or else you could give them the theme song from Neighbours. It adds to the personal touch. Or else you could give them the theme song from Neighbours. It adds to the personal touch. And when you leave here, please consider the neighbours. Rack up the volume a notch. They can't resist pointing down at their wrist at what's known as the neighbourhood watch. Then they'll throw open the window and tell you what they were just trying to mime. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. How else will you find out the time? When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. How else will you find out the time? And when you leave here, please consider the neighbours, especially the neighbours next door. If you've got bottles or cans for disposal, that's what their front garden is for. If you want to be seen to be totally green, stamp on the cans till they're flat. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. The neighbours will thank you for that. When you leave here, please consider the neighbours. The neighbours will thank you for that. And I just want to say thank you myself to Loughton Folk Club for the last 10 years. And I'll just hand over now to John, who has one final very important message for you all.
Advice from down below was
Take your glasses to the bar. 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 To the bar. To the bar. Take your glasses to the bar. Take your glasses to the bar. Take your glasses